Yeah, welcome to Sidebar Convo, where the real talk happens on the side.
Good morning to all my investors and stuff out there, man. Welcome back to another episode of that Sidebar Convo Radio Show. And this is the pre-show where we get the conversation started before the main episode when it drops on the Entrepreneur Conversation every Monday morning, guys. So today we're going to be talking about something that I think every new entrepreneur needs to hear, right? So the topic at hand we're going to be talking about is, what can today's entrepreneurs learn from the entrepreneurs of yesterday? But before we jump into the topic at hand, guys, do me a favor. Go to your cabinet, wherever you keep your glasses at, grab you a glass. Wherever you keep your drink of choice at, grab your drink, open it up, and pour you a shot, man. Matter of fact, pour you a double shot because I didn't drop an episode last Monday, so I owe y'all a shot. So pour yourself a double shot, and let's go ahead and have a great conversation for today. And make sure you jump down in that comment section, light it up, because I'm gonna have questions throughout these shows, right? So if you're new to listen to the show, I do have questions throughout the show. So definitely jump down in the comment section, leave your answer down there, because the conversation continues. Once the show ends, the conversation continues in the comment section all throughout the weekend leading up to when the Entrepreneur Conversation episode drops, guys. So that's what's important. But before we get started, you know what time it is, guys. If you're listening to this pre-recorded episode of the Sidebar Convo Radio Show, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and subscribe to the Nvest media, guys. So I'm trying to get my subscribers up so I can go live, guys. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and after you do that, make sure you hit the notification bell and hit all so you can be notified when anything new drop on the Nvest media channel. And also, guys, it's free. Go ahead and invest in hitting that like button, guys. It's free to invest in hitting that like button, and make sure you hit the hype button too. Hype these videos up so we get into the algorithm, man, because this is very great information that is put out on this media channel, guys. So I don't want anybody to miss out on it whatsoever, guys. So other than that, man, let's go ahead and jump into the topic for today. Like I said, guys, today topic of conversation that we're going to have today is, what can today's entrepreneurs learn from the entrepreneurs of yesterday? Because you got to understand, guys, today entrepreneurs have access to things previous generations could only dream about, right? So what are those things, right, that they only could dream about? Is today's entrepreneurs have social media, AI, online education, e-commerce, digital marketing, automation, and the ability to reach customers around the world, right? So, you know, back then, entrepreneurs didn't have any of that, right? So they had to become resourceful. In order for you to become resourceful, you had to make sure that you enhance your skills, your skill level, right? Because it's very important, because you didn't have anything that you could depend on at the time at starting out as an entrepreneur. So you definitely, the faster you became resourceful, you have a better chance at becoming successful as an entrepreneur and learning, right? So I got a question. So leave this answer to this question, your answer to this question, down in the comment section, guys. So the question is, have all these resources made us better entrepreneurs, or have some of us become too dependent on the resources? So let me read it one more time, guys. Have all these resources made us better entrepreneurs, or have some of us become too dependent on the resources, right? So leave your answer to that question down in the comment section, guys. So let's get started, guys. So first thing is, the old entrepreneurs had to be resourceful, right? So this is before YouTube tutorials, AI, podcasts, social media. You know, entrepreneurs had to figure things out. So what steps did they had to take to figure out, right? They had to make phone calls, which we know as cold calls. They had to knock on doors, right? They had to ask questions, and they definitely had to learn through trial and error, right? So you got to understand, man, sometimes they simply had to make something work with whatever they had, right? So that was so important back then. So that's why I say they had to become resourceful. To now, you don't have to become resourceful because all the resources right there in front of you. One click, one button, right? And it takes you to wherever you need to go to use the resources, right? To be able to learn how to use the tools that's given to you, especially in this era of entrepreneurship, right? So this is the thing about it, guys. Today's entrepreneurs have more resources, right? Yesterday, entrepreneurs had to develop more resourcefulness, right? So it's a big difference, right? Because they had to go through the trial and tribulation. They had to go through the trial and error order to become resourceful, right? To learn, to understand, to experience, to gain knowledge, right? So they had to use whatever they had to use order for them to make it to the next level of entrepreneurship, right? So you got to understand, man, that's the strength worth bringing into today's environment, right? Because when you learn back then, right, especially these entrepreneurs day, you have to go back to the basics and learn the basics, right? So it goes hand in hand. The resources in today's entrepreneurship, and you go back and learn the fundamentals of what the old entrepreneurs had to gain. It all goes hand in hand, right? So the next thing is relationships were the original social media, right? So this is before followers, likes. Entrepreneurs had to build businesses through relationships and word of mouth. And I did a whole episode of word of mouth. So please go and check that out. It was a great conversation that we had. It was about word of mouth and how important word of mouth still is. And that was one of their biggest things was back then was word of mouth, because word of mouth started because you had to start within your local environment, right? So once word got around that it was that you had a great product, great services, and what have you, that definitely helped speed up the process and help market whatever you had, right? And the relationships that you definitely build, because you could build the right relationship with the right person that can help your, just say for instance, you had a clothing brand, help your clothing brand sell. So go back and look at the entrepreneurs of old, like the Carl Kanaz, the Fubu, the Sean Johns, and what have you, right? So those clothing brands was able to become the pinnacle within the 90s because of rappers that wore their clothing brand and what have you, right? So that was one of the biggest things. You had sports stars, rappers wearing the clothing brand back then. So this is before social media. So when you have great relationships like that with people who are seen in the media, that help get your product and your services out, right? So that was so important, guys. So, if you provided a great product or service, people talked about it, right? Your reputation definitely mattered. I'm not saying that your reputation don't matter in today's society, but your reputation was everything back then, right? Your handshake mattered. Your ability to be able to communicate mattered, right? And your customers could become your best marketing team. So those things matter back then, and it played into building your fundamentals, right? Especially you communicating and what have you, and being patient, understanding, and knowing how to do things that's going to help you build your skill set up back then as an entrepreneur, right? So you got to understand, man, social media can get somebody's attention, right? But relationships can keep them, right? So that's a big difference. Social media can get somebody's attention, but the relationship is going to keep them, right? So question. So if social media disappeared tomorrow, will your customers still know how to find you, right? And tell you the truth, in today's society, if social media went down, I think it'd be a lot of entrepreneurs probably wouldn't know how to still maintain, to keep their customer, give their customer the ability to be able to still find them. Because a lot of times, especially in this society, a lot of entrepreneurs became dependent on the tools, the resources that was given to them. So they never really learned the basics on what the old entrepreneurs have to do to help learn the basics to be able to implement in today's society as an entrepreneur, to make you become more self-sufficient, right? the next thing is the ability to sell, guys. The ability to sell. And I want to say this, guys. This right here, this is just a brief rundown. I'm using these shows for brief rundown, so don't feel like I'm going too fast because, like I said, this is not the main episode. This is just a brief rundown, give you just understanding what the main episode going to be about to get the conversation going, guys. So I definitely will be going in depth in the real, the actual episode, right? So this is right here just a briefing. So the next thing is the ability to sell. So old school entrepreneurs had to get comfortable asking for sales, right? Because you got to understand there wasn't always a fancy website or automated funnel, right? Like today's society, you can have a fancy website. You can definitely create you an automated funnel to help retain people, get people information, right? See, back then you had to be comfortable with asking for the sale, to sell your product, sell your services, right? So that was one of the main things. You definitely had to learn how to negotiate back then. You had to learn how to sell because you didn't have a website where people can go to and just buy your product, right? You don't even have to talk to them. They buying your product or asking for your service through your website, right? And you able to retain the information without even asking for an email, what have you, because you have an automated funnel that's going to gather the information for you, right? To help keep them as a recurring customer, right? So this is the thing that back then entrepreneurs had to do. So this is like a conversation, what they had to, if they see a potential customer, this is how they had to approach them, right? So this is something that they had to say, right? Here's what I can do, right? Here's how I can help you. Are you interested, right? So these are some of the things they had to say. Here's what I can do. Here's how I can help you. Are you interested, right? So this requires confidence, communication, listening, negotiation, and ability to handle rejection, right? Like I said, back then, you had to be confident. You had to build your confidence up. You had to be able to communicate. You had to become a great listener, and the ability to be able to negotiate. See, I think in today's society as entrepreneurs, I don't think a lot of them probably don't know how to negotiate on a level where they will be able to make the sale, right? And the ability to handle rejection, right? Because you had to take a no right there in front of your face if somebody didn't want your service or your product, to now where people, you don't even know if a person don't want your service or not because they go to your website and they might not buy nothing right away. They might not want what you have to offer, right? So it's like you not really seeing the rejection or feeling rejection. Now they just leaving your website, right? Only thing you can see is when you're looking at the analysis of, okay, how long people stay on your website, what have you, and all that, but you still not feeling the rejection of it, right? So today's entrepreneurs can learn from that, right? They can learn from the confidence. They can learn from the communication, listening, negotiation, ability to handle rejection. So these things that you can definitely learn, right? Learn how to build up your confidence, how to communicate and listen, and all the other things that come with it, right? So you don't have to be pushy to sell, right? So you have to understand the problem you're solving and the problem that you're solving and communicate the value of your solution. So these things you have to be able to communicate to hopefully make the sale for you, right? And that's the thing about it. What problem are you solving? What is the value in the solution that you are offering to a person's problem, right? So next thing is customer service and reputation. And I had another episode talking about customer service. A great episode. So definitely go check out that episode when I was breaking down customer service. And this is something that's very vital when it comes to business, right? Is the customer service, right? So customer service and reputation. So, and this includes, right, treating people right? And these things right here is very important, right? So today's entrepreneurs may be focused on getting followers, views, leads, and sales. But what happens after the sale, right? So the old school mentality understood that one satisfied customer could bring you several more customers, and that comes from word of mouth, right? Through word of mouth, people telling others about your services, about your product and what have you, right? Because you got to understand, people, when they have a great experience and what have you, they like to share it, and they want others to be able to feel, be able to experience the type of experience that they had with being a customer of yours and what have you. So you got to understand that, right? And one thing back then though too, one unhappy customer could damage your reputation, and that's one thing you don't want, is your reputation to be damaged, right? Because your reputation is going to go a long way, right? So you want to make sure you keep your reputation in high regards, where everybody, and not saying, yeah, people are, you have people out there that's going to purposely try to damage your reputation, right? Or you got some people that's not going to going to allow you to make the situation right, because things happen within business, right? Misunderstanding, mishaps, things happen, right? So you got to do your best to make sure that your reputation don't become damaged, right? So understand this, guys. Don't build a business where you're constantly chasing new customers, right? Because you don't know how to keep the ones you already have, right? So you got to understand that that's one thing you don't want to do, is chase new customers, because your recurring customers are going to be the ones that's going to have you, it's going to help you stay in the running for the long run, right? Long term, longevity, all them things come along with having recurring customers. Yes, you want new customers, but the ones you have, you want to be able to nurture them. You want to be able to use them, especially within your community, to help market your services, to help push your ideas along and what have you, right? So, and that's the one of the main things. So, question. So, leave your answer to this question down in the comment section, guys. What makes you stay loyal to a business? Let me say it again. Ask that again. What makes you stay loyal to a business? So, leave your answer to that question down below, right? So next thing is patient versus instant success. So understand, guys, social media has changed our expectations, right? So you will see someone post, right, I made 100,000 in 30 days, right? And suddenly you would think you were behind, right? Because of the perception of somebody saying they made 100,000 in 30 days. See, we living in a time of social media where I like to call delusion of grandeur. You have a lot of social media influencers cosplaying as entrepreneurs, which they really not. That's why it's important for you not to compare yourself to others. It's nothing wrong with using somebody as the standard, right? Because this is where you want to be able to be one day or even higher. But the problem comes when you start comparing yourself to others. So once you start comparing yourself to others, and they might not even be telling you the truth about where they are as an entrepreneur. They may not really even be an entrepreneur, right? Because you have a lot of influencers out here, right? So then guess what? You're going to feel like you're subtly behind, which you're not, because this person is not where they say they are, right? So that's the thing, guys. But entrepreneurship has never been about somebody else's timeline. Let me say it again. Entrepreneurship has never been about somebody else's timeline, right? Many successful business took years to establish credibility, because back then, like I said, they didn't have the resources. So it took time for them to establish credibility, because now in today's society, as an entrepreneur, you can reach people around the world faster than you did back then, because it started on a local level, right? And not to say it would ever reach worldwide and what have you, right? So today's entrepreneur needs to understand, guys, going viral isn't the same thing as building a business, right? Followers aren't the same thing as customers, guys, and revenue isn't necessarily the same thing as profit, because a lot of times people, they misunderstand what revenue is and what profit is. Revenue is something that you have generated, right? Your total, what you have generated total, right? That doesn't include your profit at all, because you still have your deductibles, you have your expenses, you have to pay. If you have a team, you have to pay your team, right? You have to do things right before you even see a profit. So whatever left over is going to be what you profited at the end of the day, right? Versus your revenue. So don't get it mixed up. Don't think because you are generating revenue, this is your profit. You can go out and just spend on expensive things without taking care of your business first, right? And you got to understand that, man. Please don't mix up the two, right? And the other thing is, speed isn't always progress, guys. And let me say it again, speed isn't always progress. So the next thing is, too many resources can become a distraction, right? So here's where here's the thing, guys. You can spend all day consuming entrepreneur content, right? You can watch podcasts, watch YouTube, buy courses, study marketing, build websites, design logos, research AI tools, create social media content. At the end of the day, you still haven't made what? You still haven't made a sale, right? And sometimes entrepreneurs don't have an information problem, guys. They have an execution problem. And that's the problem of today's society, right? Because we become informationalists. We gain all the information. We hoard all the information, but we never put the information that we have into action, right? And it never leads to execution, right? So the information is not the problem in today's entrepreneurship. It's not the problem because we have resources. We have all the information that we need. The problem is a lot of us don't know how to execute with the information that we do have. Like I said, at the end of the day, the goal is to make a sale, and people got to understand how hard it is to make a sale. See, when you're on the outside looking in, you may think it's easy to make one sale a day, right? And if you manage to make one sale a day, that's good. That's borderline great, because it's hard to, especially when it come online. Yes, you may be the best seller in person, but when it comes to online, you can't sell anything. See, it's two different things, right? Selling in person versus selling online. It's two different things, guys. And you got to understand, the old school mindset was often, I don't know everything, but I'm going to figure out what I need to know and get moving. And that was their mindset, because they didn't have a choice. They had to get moving because they didn't have the resources, right? They didn't have a podcast to watch, right? They didn't have YouTube to watch. They didn't have the courses that they can go and buy, right? They didn't have the websites and what have you, right? They didn't have the AI tools, right? They didn't have the social media content. They had to use what they had and figure the rest of it out, right? And that requires them moving, getting to work, getting to action, right? So going back to the question that I asked beforehand, have we become too dependent on the resources, the tools that we have today? Because when you look at back then, they were more active. They executed more. It seemed like they was more hungry and more passionate, because they knew if I couldn't afford to sit around and waste a day, because I had to become resourceful. The faster I become resourceful, the more successful that I can become as an entrepreneur, right? So that's what's very important, guys. So the next thing is the old school and the new school. And it's the old school ways of entrepreneurship and the new school ways of entrepreneurship. This can definitely be a powerful combination, right? So you got to understand, man, today's society, I'm not telling y'all to reject today's technology, because you definitely need the technology of today. It's all about combining the two together, the old ways of entrepreneurship and the new ways of entrepreneurship, right? So use the tools, use AI, use social media, use automation, use digital advertisement, use e-commerce, use the technology to make your business more efficient, but combine those tools with the old school fundamentals, right? And the fundamentals that come in play is relationships, communication, customer service, patience, salesmanship, consistency, resourcefulness, integrity, right? So you can combine the tools of today's society when it comes to the resources that is given to you with the fundamentals of old, because these fundamentals, when you go back and you understand the basics of entrepreneurship when it comes to building relationships, communication, customer service, being patient, salesmanship, consistency, resourcefulness, integrity. This is going to be a powerful combination for you, and it's going to make you a better entrepreneur because you got to understand it's all about not becoming dependent on the tools and becoming more self-sufficient, more resourcefulness on your own. Not saying don't use the tools that's given to you, but don't become dependent on it, because what happened if social media go quiet, right? It just goes down. You're going to need the basics to be able to survive as an entrepreneur. So it's very important for you to go back to the basics of entrepreneurship and learn and enhance those skill sets, right? And bring them up to a level that's going to help you as an entrepreneur, right? So guys, I got a couple questions here. So I'm gonna leave these questions in the comment section also. But here goes some quick questions for y'all. Leave your answer in the comment section, guys. So here are some questions, right? What old school entrepreneurial skill do you think today's entrepreneurs are missing, right? Number 2, has social media made entrepreneurship easier or just more competitive, right? Number 3, can you build a successful business today without having a large social media following? Number 4, are entrepreneurs becoming too dependent on AI and technology, right? Number 5, what's more important, having more resources or knowing how to use the resources you already have, right? Number 6, do you think today's entrepreneurs have less patience than previous generations, right? Number 7, what's one lesson your parents, grandparents, or older entrepreneurs taught you about making money or running a business, guys? So answer these questions. Leave your answer down in the comment section, man, because it's all about, man, continuing this conversation after this episode ends, guys. So thank you, man, for coming through, man, tuning in to another Sidebar Convo Radio Show, man. And definitely look forward to the entrepreneur conversation on Monday. We're going to continue the conversation. It's going to be the full episode. So we're going to go in depth and really give you a great breakdown on what today's entrepreneurs can learn from entrepreneurs of yesterday, man. We're going back to the basics, guys, back to the basics. So the new generation has something the old generation didn't have. Unprecedented access, right? But the old generation developed something today's generation can't afford to lose. That's the ability to make something happen without having everything available to you, guys. So maybe the question isn't which era had the better entrepreneurs, right? Maybe the better question is what happens when today's technology meets yesterday's entrepreneurial discipline, guys. So, man, look forward to the full episode on the entrepreneur conversation for this Monday, guys. So thank you once again. Hopefully, man, you enjoyed your double shot for today. Thank y'all, man. Let's get this Friday started off right. Thank you once again. Yep.